Welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame with your hosts, Pierre Camus and Chris Moncano.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame tight end waiver wire advice for week 5. And we're going to talk about a couple of familiar names here. I know I feel like we've mentioned them before, but it's tight ends. There's only so many players on the radar, but a couple of interesting new names. We'll see if you have any interest in scooping them up off waivers. If you have interest in running back, wide receiver, quarterback advice, got those videos up here too. If you hit the subscribe button right below and click on the little bell, you'll be notified as soon as our latest episodes are uploaded. Remember, the Fantasy Football Endgame, our objective is to help you win and dominate your opposition. All right? Easy enough. All right, let's get to tight end. Now, let's start with a name that I did mention last week. I'm going to mention it again because I think actually he's still the best streamer and pickup this week. Again, we're talking tight ends here. Alie-Cox. Now, Alie-Cox did not see as much action this week, mainly because Trey Burton was back on the field. Trey Burton did not do very much, neither did Jack Doyle, but now we got 3 tight ends in the mix. That would seem to be worse situation for Alie-Cox because now he's second, third, maybe in line. Even if he's the top target, does it really matter? Kind of. So here's the thing. Even though Alie-Cox isn't the only healthy tight end on the roster now, they're still getting him involved. All right. So he saw only 2 targets, and that's not good. But he did get a touchdown. He's shown the proclivity to make big plays, right? Get in the end zone. He's got the athleticism. So I trust him more so than the other 2. Well, Burton, he's going to get hurt again any day now. And then Doyle just doesn't seem like what he used to be a couple of years ago. I still think Alie-Cox might be the main tight end going forward. Now, that said, this Indy offense is diversifying, which also isn't necessarily a good thing. They're not funneling targets to anybody. All right, it's a run-first team with Taylor. And then as far as the passing game, I don't really know that anybody's startable on a weekly basis. T.Y. Hilton, I've definitely given up on. And then you got Pascal. Everybody else now taking the place of the injured receivers, which is Campbell and Pittman. They threw the ball to 10 different guys. Phillip Rivers targeted 10 different receivers and running backs and tight ends in week 4. 9 of them caught a pass. Nobody caught more than 3 passes. Okay, so all this sounds really, really bad. But here's the thing. I still think that because of that, they're not relying on a single tight end or player. Alie-Cox will always get some share of targets, and I think he's the main tight end in Phillip Rivers' mind. And the thing is, this week, going against the Browns have given up the 4th most fantasy points to tight ends, so it's a really good matchup. Okay, so don't give up on him just because, of all those things I mentioned. I'm not saying he's a must start, but he is still the strongest streaming option you got at tight end, like it or not. Also, like it or not, Drew Sample, we still have to talk about him because, again, after that one game, CJ Uzomah out for the season towards Achilles, and then Sample had that monster game, and then he disappeared. Sort of came back to relevance, I guess you could say, this past week. Almost had a touchdown. So if you weren't watching, he was targeted in the end zone. He looked like he had it, but instead the defender, Miles Jack, took it away from him. It was a jump ball situation and it just didn't break his way, but he was targeted in the end zone. That's a good sign. He still has 15 targets over the past 3 games. And you take away last week's dud, he's getting a fair amount of the work. And I don't know what you think about AJ Green. It looks like he might be done. I think it's a little early to declare that, but he just doesn't look like the same player. It wasn't fitting in the offense. And so they're going away from him. So Sample, only 3 catches for 47 yards this week, but was targeted 5 times, was targeted in the end zone. That's good enough for a streaming tight end possibility. So keep him in mind too. All right. And then next, a guy that just keeps emerging, right? Not at the right time, but Cameron Brate. OJ Howard is done for the season, officially done, meaning he's injured, right? Achilles also. And so Brate caught a touchdown. It was his only catch. It was like I think a 3-yard touchdown. His first ever from Tom Brady. I'm not saying it's the start of a connection, but you know what? Brate now replaces OJ Howard. Gronk has done nothing in the passing game. He's a blocking tight end now, I guess. They don't have a whole lot of options. If you watch my wide receiver episode, talk about how Godwin probably won't play this week. And it doesn't seem like Evans is going to be 100% if he does play. Remember, Thursday night, short week, Evans' ankle might be bothering him. they might not have any other options but to throw it to Scotty Miller, Justin Watson, and then Cameron Brate. All right, so don't be surprised if Brate gets a fair amount of action this week. So it's still pretty much touchdown dependent. You probably won't see a big game from him in terms of receptions. But you know what? He could be stream worthy if you're in a desperate spot. And then a player I want to mention, here's my number 4 out of our top 5 waiver wire for tight end. You don't want to play this week probably because he has a bye. So why would I mention him? Robert Tonyan. Okay, so I'm recording this before the Monday night game with the Packers and the Falcons. Fonte Adams is not playing. Chances are after the bye, he will be fine and play. But Alan Lazard is out, so they are amazingly, they were already thin at receiver. Now they're amazingly thin. I don't know that they're going to go out and sign somebody, but they only have 2 viable receivers right now with Adams and MVS. So the tight ends have to get more involved. And you know what? Tonyan seems to be taking the lead. Everyone thought Jay Sternberger would emerge. He hasn't. He probably won't. So Tonyan is their leading receiver at tight end. He could be going forward. So this might be a kind of a long-term stash, not a ton of upside just because we know Aaron Rodgers doesn't pepper the tight end with targets. But again, you're looking for a fill-in. You're looking for somebody who at least has a decent floor. And then Tonyan might be that guy. So keep an eye on, see what happens tonight. Could go off against Atlanta. Well, he could do something against Atlanta. He's not going to go off. And then I have to mention this last name. In the running back episode, started out with an XFL guy, Dearness Johnson. You might remember Chris and I on Rotoballer YouTube channel. We did a weekly start sit for XFL. We sure did. We talked about the XFL every week of those glorious, 5 weeks. And we had fun. So this is a name that, might ring a bell. Donald Pharam Jr. at tight end. And he plays for the Chargers now. So that's good to know. So, yeah, he caught a pass for a touchdown. That's all he did. Does that make him fantasy relevant? No. But maybe, because you know what? Mike Williams is hurt. And Justin Herbert has shown that he really doesn't care who you are, where you come from. He'll throw it to you. And the Chargers are just throwing random guys out there off the street at wide receiver and now tight end. And Austin Eckler now is hurt. This team's going to have to throw the ball a lot more. Why not? Why not a guy get involved? This is a guy, let me remind you, since you probably remember, Donald Parham Jr., has a catch radius in the 92nd percentile. He's 6'8", and a burst score in the 94th percentile. He is big and fast. So why not take a chance? Now, obviously, this is a deep tight end sleeper, but you know what? We like to go deep here. If he breaks out, you can say you heard it first here on the end game. All right, that'll do it for week 5 tight end waiver wire advice. Check out my other episodes. As I mentioned, Chris is going to talk about streamers, and we will talk start sit also for the upcoming week. All right, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give us a comment on this channel or follow us on Twitter at EndgameFantasy. All right, thanks for watching.